Hi, welcome to Dumb Love. I'm Sally Brooks.
And this is Jen O'Neill Smith, and this is a podcast about the dumb things that people do for love.
Dum 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 be dooby dum 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 be dooby dum 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 be dooby dum wow wow wow.
So welcome to episode 2. We did it.
We did one full episode, and now we're starting a second.
I mean, the response to the first one has been amazing.
We've actually had zero response because we haven't posted the first one yet.
Well, I mean, the response from me, we thought it was great. So.
We did. I loved the first episode very much.
So I hope you guys are, thank you for listening, and we are excited to tell each other some more stories. So,
yeah.
Do you want to start with our silly stories?
Yes, I'm very
Our dumb
excited.
love stories.
I can't wait.
Our shorties, our quickies. We'll figure out what to call them.
Yeah, you tell us what you want us to call it. I'm kind of leaning towards quickies because it's like, it's quick story and play on sex quickie. But whatever, if that's dumb. Is quickie one of those words that's like cringeworthy, like
Panties?
Moist panties?
I don't know. You guys tell us.
I don't know. Just tell us what you want and we'll do it.
Okay, so my story is like an oldie but goodie. Like You've definitely heard this before, but it's like one of my favorites, and I'll tell you why. So this is about the South Carolina governor, Mark Sanford, who went missing for 6 days in 2009. Do you remember this?
No.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay, so he went missing. Nobody knew where he was. He was the governor. His wife didn't know where he was. His security staff didn't know where he was. They all, so his phones were turned off. He stopped responding to phone and text messages. So the media caught on and started, questioning his staff and his family. And basically, who is in charge here? If the governor is gone and he's not able to respond.
Vice governor?
The lieutenant governor, I think, who apparently was also some kind of, shady figure. I don't know. But so his wife said, initially, she said, I don't know where he is exactly, but I'm not worried because he told me he needed some time away from me and the kids to write something. He was going off to write, which sounds lovely. I would love that too.
I know. I want to go away and write something.
So the media, it was this huge media storm. People were more and more national media was catching on to this case that he's missing.
Oh my God, did he write The Notebook? Is this about The Notebook? He came back and was like, I wrote the saddest love story.
Close. It is a pretty sad love story. So after 4 days,
sorry.
No, actually it's not sad. After 4 days, his spokesperson, after being missing, came out and was like, oh, wait. Actually, he did tell me where he went. He's out hiking the Appalachian Trail.
What?
And then the 5th day, his spokesperson was like, oh, and he just called me and said he's so shocked by all this media attention, and so he's going to come back tomorrow. So this is the random part that I have the connection to. But at the time, I don't want to brag, Jen, but I wrote a blog. Did you have a blog?
I actually never had a blog.
Oh, you never blogged?
I didn't have the balls to blog.
Oh, yeah. I blogged for a couple years anonymously. But part of what I was writing about was, so this part about me is that my husband and I met hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Yes.
And so I was writing about that, and I had a blog post that was what is the Appalachian Trail? And I had a map and all this information about it. And so I wasn't following this news story at all, but all of a sudden my little blog that probably had 10 followers, all of a sudden was getting a ton of hits. I was getting so much traffic to my blog and to this site in particular because everybody was what's the Appalachian Trail? And they were Googling it. And for some reason,
your blog kept coming up.
My blog was the first thing that came up for some reason.
Can I just say, I'm sorry. You'll find these things out about Sally. Sally has all of these brushes with fame finds her. She has so many different things that went viral and she didn't know it was going to go viral, or she has this just happens. The universe wants Sally to be Oprah. Maybe this podcast will help.
Do you think this is going to happen?
I think
hope
it's going to happen. But I feel it just keeps coming for you, man.
Yeah, this was a very small brush with fame.
Well, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, none of those people.
I want to hear the rest.
Well, so So he did come back the next day. So he came back on the 6th day, but instead of driving back from being on the Appalachian Trail, he flew in from Buenos Aires. And there was a reporter, her name was Gina Smith, and she was from the State, which I don't know, I'm guessing that's a newspaper, had gotten a tip.
TV show.
She's, Gina Smith from the State.
She was hilarious.
Yeah, she was the sketch improv group, Gina Smith. So she had received a tip that he was in Argentina. And so just on a hunch, she showed up at the airport for the first flight in from Buenos Aires at the Atlanta airport at 5:43 in the morning. And so she was there, and he comes off the plane, sure enough, and she was like, hey, what's going on? And so he actually sat down and talked to her and was like, oh, right, I was going to hike the Appalachian Trail, but the last minute I decided to do something more exotic. So I went to Argentina, but I was totally alone. That's what he tells him. So he tells her. So a few hours later, he actually holds a press conference, and he's like, oh, just kidding. I was in Argentina with my mistress.
Oh my.
And my spokesperson only said the Appalachian Trail because I told them I was going to hike the Appalachian Trail. Nobody knew. And then he said his wife actually had found out about the affair in January. This was in like May. It was after this, but so she didn't know he was there, but they were on a trial separation. And so of course the first thing he does on this trial separation is fly down with his mistress.
But why no communication? Like why, like you can be, I guess because they didn't want to, can you track the call to?
I guess, I guess he couldn't say I'm going to be in Argentina because he was having an affair. He was still married.
Or hold the press conference before and say, hey guys, I'm
going on a family vacation.
Break.
Yeah. I'm going to be off the book for just trying to find myself down in Argentina.
Just need to regroup. I'll be back in a little while.
And I guess he was like, had been having this affair for quite a while. He'd known this woman for like 8 years, but he said it was just in like the last year, and even like sought counseling. He and his wife had couples counseling, like because she knew about it. And then he went to this place called The Family, which is like a really, I don't really understand, but it's like a weird, conservative family group that apparently a bunch of like
sounds like an Italian.
Right, he went to The Family, and he was like, look. I don't know. I'm horrible with accents.
Caroline Manzo's Family. That's a Real Housewives reference.
I don't know it.
I know them.
Okay, you know
I know them.
Okay. Yes. So he went to this. He went and like sought counseling through this place called The Family that apparently a couple other senators who also were having affairs were a part of. So like they're real.
What a fake bullshit group.
Yes.
Of like that is such like a rich white dude thing to make this like little. It's like white collar jail.
Yes.
But it's like so the family they just go and sit and smoke cigars and play golf and they're like, oh, I'm getting treated for the fact that I'm a cheating piece of shit.
Yes. Yeah. And they're just like, oh, I'm so sorry, but it's.
If women make mistakes, we get like locked up in the loony bin and like electric shock therapy until we get our shit straight. But men, they just go on a vacation and call it The Family.
The Family. Yeah. I wish I can't remember the other senators' names, but anyway, but they also got caught around the same time, which I think is very fitting.
Let's all get caught at the same time.
All right, you guys, I'm going to do my affair. Let's give you guys go to Pinky Swear, do your affair too.
This whole thing where you say you're going to be somewhere and then don't answer the phone for 6 days, people will freak out.
And we get a lot.
They don't have to get caught.
Got so much press.
Oh my God.
So he actually was like he was like repentant about that he disappeared, but he like told reporters, he was very sappy about his mistress. Her name was Maria. And he was like, I can die knowing that I've met my soulmate. Like he actually said that into a microphone.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think he really did? Is
Love
this
her?
a true love story? Or is this a dumb love story?
This is dumb. Okay, so this was in 2009, and then 2010 he was divorced. He got his wife divorced him, so good for her. And they tried to I guess the state Senate, I don't know who does that, tried to impeach him, but they ended up not impeaching him because I guess his term was ending soon, and also the person who was the lieutenant governor was
Also cheating on his wife?
probably, yeah, so they were like, well, this is like a worse alternative, so so he, in 2010, after all of this was kind of died down, he started things back up with the mistress, and then they got engaged in 2012, and then in 2013, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. So,
Oh my! There you go.
yeah, the people of the great state of South Carolina, where I was born, decided to reelect him. But then the sad news is that he and the mistress broke off their engagement in 2014. So, I guess it wasn't. It didn't work out.
It wasn't a true love story.
It wasn't a true love story.
Oh my God! He's dumb.
Dumb.
What a dumb senator that's in charge of a lot of people.
Right? It's like, couldn't there be? There's got to be better people in South Carolina.
They're all so dumb. Oh my God! Do you watch Southern Charm? There's not better people.
No.
I'm just kidding. South Carolina's great. Man, that's crazy.
All right. Do you have a quickie?
Oh my God. I'm so excited to tell you about this quickie. I've been excited about it all week.
Is this the one that you texted me and were like,
I was like, get ready.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm ready.
Yeah, okay, so I thought I had one, and I was telling my friend about it at dinner the other night, and he was like, and so my story was going to be about this woman who married the Berlin Wall. Like, she fell in love with. See, that's already great, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so there's a term for it. It's called object or objectum sexuality, or objectophilia is another term for it. It's people that are like fall in love with objects. And
I mean, sometimes you get it, right? Where you're just like, you hear some of these stories that we're telling, and you're just like, yeah, I mean, the Berlin Wall is as good as anything.
Is it a sexy wall? I feel like that was a very not sexy wall.
So you're like, it's not that you're the object that you're objecting
like Great
to.
Wall
it's
of China, I could see that. It's a hot wall.
It's a hot wall. It's got all those curves.
But so I was telling my friend about the woman that married the Berlin Wall, and he was like, oh my God, have you heard the story? Which is the one that I'm about to tell you now, which is about a man named Edward Smith. Now, this man, he has claimed to have had sex with over 1,000 cars that he had very romantic feelings towards, but the love of his life is a white Volkswagen Beetle that he named Vanilla. Like, what? That's what you're, like, give your girlfriend a real name.
Right.
Or your
That's
boyfriend a real name. Like, Vanilla.
I mean, that's like when I was 10 and I got a dog and I named her Wiggles because she wiggled. Like, I mean, it's just like, oh, you're white? Okay, Vanilla.
And I mean, she's so special that you named her Regular. He says, maybe I'm a little bit off the wall, but when I see movies like Herbie and Knight Rider where cars become lovable, huggable characters, it's just wonderful. Yeah, those are wonderful because they're fictitious, like cartoonish movies or shows. But he's a lover of cars. Like, he says that he writes poetry, he sings to them, and he talks to them just like a girlfriend. He talks about how and it's not okay. He loves Vanilla. Vanilla's the love of his life, but he still spends time with other vehicles.
Oh, wow.
He has
Does Vanilla know?
Vehicles.
He's polycarous.
Probably not, because it's an inanimate object. But he also has a 1973 Opel GT named Cinnamon, and then he's got a 1993 Ford Ranger Splash named Ginger. So,
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah, so he names them flavors, which is kind of gross. But he said that his last relationship with an actual woman was 12 years ago, but that he couldn't bring himself to consummate it, and that but he says he did have sex with girls in his younger years, but now he's fully into what he calls mechaphilia, because it's not just objects, it's these cars. But
are you going to tell me, because I'm very curious, I want to know the
baby cars. They like sprout these sidecars up.
They're like Hot Wheels.
Yeah. He's got a bucket full of Hot Wheels.
It's like, these are my kids. No, what are the I can't think of a better word, but what are the mechanics of how they have sex? Like, is it the exhaust pipe?
I want to say, okay, for instance, he says that there was he said there have been certain cars that just attracted to me, and he would just like, he says he would creep up to them and just hug and kiss them. But I'm willing to bet that, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. He says that when he was turned 13 and the famous Corvette Stingray came about, that car was just pure sex and was just an incredible machine. I wanted it. So he says he wanted it sexually, and he does hug and kiss cars. He crawls up and, onto the car and loves on it hard. But it says... he does say, it says, Mr. Smith, 57, first had sex with a car at the age of 15 and claims he was and never had been attracted to men or women. But then I guess oh my God, I forgot the best part. Forgive me because I'm jumping all around this crazy ass article. Okay. Here's the best part. His wandering eye has spread beyond cars to other vehicles.
Oh, you dirty dog.
This is a celebrity sighting. Well, this is a celebrity connection. Are you ready?
Yeah.
He says his most intense sexual experience was making love to the helicopter from 1980s TV show Airwolf. Who left him alone with the helicopter?
Right? Where did
never
he find
leave your helicopter alone with mechophilias. That's crazy.
I feel like that helicopter was it into it? What?
We're going to post this picture too on our Instagram at Dub Love Podcast at Dub Love Pod.
At dumblovepod@gmail.com.
Or on our Instagram?
Oh, sorry. Dumb Love Podcast.
Dumb Love Podcast. But there's a picture of Mr. Edward Smith. It's next to one of his former partners, which is a Volkswagen Bug.
I said oh no because I thought you were going to say you had a picture of him making love.
Doing it on a car?
But I'm
on a car or in a car?
Right?
I'm like, a car. You can't do it with because I don't know. Also... on one hand, he says he's not hurting anybody, and he says
that's true.
It's
right?
true. He's not hurting anybody, but also it's non-consensual because they can't consent. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if this is I have to. It's not hurting anybody and is love in this sense. You can love your car, or is it you can love your car but just don't love your car?
It's just unrequited.
Exhaust pipe.
I think it's, you know what? I feel like this is like a person who otherwise would be doing weird things that might be hurting people. So
let him do a car.
Yeah, let him do a car.
Yeah,
And here's the third thing. Here's my other thing, is that how is a person who has sex with cars wealthy enough that he can buy these vintage cars? Like, what does he do? And he's like talking about it openly.
And would you? It says he's part of a global community of more than 500 car lovers, quote unquote, brought together by internet forums. Because of course,
the internet
forums. But here's my question for you, Sally.
Yeah.
Would you be more or less inclined to sell your car to someone like Mr. Smith? Would you want it to go to a place where you know it's going to be loved real hard? Or would you not want it to go to a place where it's going to be loved real hard?
See, I think that if he wants to pay premium dollar, I will, because I'm not attached to my car in that way.
Right.
He can have it.
Okay. It never says what he does for his living.
Right?
He probably just works at a junkyard. I
couldn't afford,
right?
Like a classic car.
Or he does something cool enough to where he would be left alone with 1980s TV hit helicopter Airwolf. Is the helicopter named Airwolf? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Like it.
That's a nutso story.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I feel
Gross.
I feel a little gross. I feel a little gross and also just so curious. I'm so
Google
curious.
it.
I'm going to be Googling, how do you have sex with a car? If you guys know, write in.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know. Okay, you ready for
The bad.
Crazy Love, the bad story, the dark story?
Yes, always.
Okay, so this one, I watched a 48 Hours mystery
Hell
on
yeah.
it. And it was called Love and Death in Alaska. Have you heard of this?
I probably have, just because I know all of them.
Yeah.
But I don't immediately know what it is, no.
Well, now you're going to hear of it the way that I tell it. Okay, so in 2008, this woman, Michelle Linehan, lived in Olympia, Washington with her 8-year-old daughter and her doctor husband. She had a master's degree. She owned a business. She volunteered in her community. I mean, she sounds kind of like the type of woman that would just like annoy the shit out of me, but
She sounds like a boss, I love it.
you would love her. I would be like, ugh. But she was,
Because I lift women up, Sally.
and I push them back down.
That's how we work.
I step on them to get to the top.
Just kidding.
But she was like really well liked. I mean, people
Right.
had very nice things to say about her, and she was well respected. But I mean, it's like just when you think you have it all, that past comes back to haunt you.
Oh, God.
Because in 1994, Michelle had a really different life. Back then, she was Michelle Hughes, and she was a teenager. She was from Louisiana, and she moved from Louisiana to New York City for a modeling career, which just makes me feel like, I mean, she was very pretty, but she also is like, it makes me feel like she was maybe discovered in a mall,
Right, yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to New York City, and then very quickly she moved to Alaska to dance as an exotic dancer at the Great Alaskan
it was
Bush
one
Company.
Of those hard knocks.
Very quickly,
Yeah.
within like a year, she was out. Her modeling career was
that
finished.
Poison video. Which one is that?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
But she was dancing at a place called the Great Alaskan Bush Company.
Oh, nice.
Which I think is
clever.
like, yeah. Mm-hmm. You've been to Bloomington, Indiana?
Yes, I love Bloomington.
Yeah, they used to have a strip club called Night Moves, which is my favorite name for a strip club.
That's a Bob Seger
Yes.
song? Yeah, okay.
Working on my night moves. Yeah. I love a clever strip club name. So she...
Like Swingin' Richards here.
What? No,
Yeah,
I've
you
never
don't
heard
know
of
that?
that.
Oh, yeah, because you just moved here. No, it's a male strip club, and it's called Swinging Richards, which, Richard is long for...
No, I never
dick.
heard that.
You didn't know? Swinging dicks.
Swinging dicks.
Just
That's a good one.
Dicks.
So she met, she was very popular, apparently a very good dancer. And that's where she met Ken Leppink, who was 35 years old. And his family said that he was fun, he was energetic, he loved life. He was also described as really impulsive, and which kind of explains why he met Michelle and within weeks was telling his family that he had fallen head over heels in love with this woman. He was from Michigan. He apparently had some kind of problem with his family business. His family owned some stores in Michigan, and he had been skimming off the top.
Oh, yeah.
But so he moved to Alaska to kind of get his life together and was working on a fishing boat. And his family was very close. They still loved him. They talked to him frequently. He told his family about a month after he met Michelle that he had proposed. And they were happy for him, but they were also a little, they were suspicious. Not suspicious.
Yeah.
He didn't tell them that she was a dancer or that he had met her, but she was so much younger than he was. And so his parents came up to Alaska to meet her, and his mom said that she just felt like the relationship wasn't mutual. When he would go to put his arm around her, she would kind of shrink back. Right. Is what the mom said. And it made me think, when I was 21, I got kind of wrangled into this date with this guy named Wayne, who was like
that's the serial killer name.
he was like a total Wayne. Like he had like a like a mock turtleneck.
Oh,
he wore that to our date.
She was like pinching her chin. Like, he had like a fat chin.
He had a real fat
neck, not chin.
No, I remember he told me, so I was 21, I was in college, and he told me, I was like, how old are you? And he was like, I'm 35. And my response was, ugh. And now I'm like, oh, no, there's nothing wrong with being 35 or 40 or whatever. But but at the time, but I mean, so I'm like, I get it, Michelle, this guy's 35. He's like hugging up on her. So anyway, so the family was like a little suspicious, but so, now there's another guy. His name is Scott Hilke. He's a traveling salesman. He also met Michelle at the Bush Company, and he also fell in love with her. And 10 days after she said yes to Kent's proposal, she accepted a proposal from Scott Hilke.
That's not how a proposal works.
Right? It's kind of like a one at a time kind of thing. But
she sounds like a yes person, though. It's like, you should move to New York and be a model. Okay. You should come move to Alaska and be a stripper. Okay. You want to marry me? Yes.
Except she doesn't sound like that. She has like one of those really little baby voices.
Oh, yes. Like,
and yes, I would love that.
Okay.
You're the love of my life. So Scott Hilke says he had no idea about anyone else. He didn't. But so then now there's a third man. His name is John Carlin.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he had just lost his wife to cancer and was raising his teenage son by himself. And when he met Michelle, he described her as mesmerizing. He said he actually knew about the other men, and he said by the time he found out about Scott and Kent, that he was like too smitten to care. So she was basically seeing at least these three guys for about like a period of like almost 2 years. Like between 1994 and 1996, she was kind of seeing both of them. And at one point, she and Kent Leppink, who's the first guy, and then John Carlin, all kind of lived in the same house.
What?
So yeah, it was like everyone was kind of in and out. Scott Hilke was
Alaska for you, or
I don't know. I mean, seems like a very weird arrangement. They were all much older. She was this like hot young thing. I don't know. I mean, they all were like, she was mesmerizing. She was whatever. I'm like, she was 20. So how mesmerizing could she be? But so in 1995, John Carlin proposed, and she said yes. So now she's engaged to 3 guys. And she got a lot of like gifts from these guys, like money and diamonds and furs and rent and cars. And
they all lived in the same house.
Well, it's very confusing, but apparently at some point, some of them they all knew about each other by the end, and they all knew kind of,
they were all like polygamous.
Kind of, but I don't think it was.
It's not.
I mean, it was polygamous, obviously, because they knew, but I don't think they were like, oh, we're all happy with this arrangement. Gotcha. I think it was more like,
I'll take what I can get.
I'll take what I can get. Yeah. So they were all really, really in love and flattered that this young, beautiful woman is like into them, and they just kind of like let it go. So, so by 1995, Scott Hilke, who's a traveling salesman, had left Alaska, kind of realizing that Michelle was like never going to marry him. He was like, all right, I see what's happening here, I guess because she has other men. But Kent is he's planning a wedding. And in April 1996, his father went to visit Kent and Michelle in Alaska, but Michelle was like nowhere to be found. Like apparently they were like, not that she was missing, but she just like wouldn't show up at any like he was supposed to like have dinner with his father, and she just didn't come. And so the dad says that Kent seemed embarrassed, but it like didn't really ring any alarm bells more than they already kind of were like not happy about Michelle, but they just were like, well, Kent says he's in love with her. She's the one, and we have to respect that. So within hours of his dad leaving, Kent mails his parents 2 letters. They came in one envelope. So the first letter told them to put the second envelope in their safe deposit box and only open it if you think something fishy has happened to me. His parents didn't open the second envelope, but they did immediately call to reach him once they got the letter. So, I mean, he's in Alaska, they're in Michigan, so it took a couple days to get there. But it turned out the day the letter arrived was the same day that Kent's body was found.
Oh my God.
And so he was found shot 3 times down an isolated road in a little town called Hope, which is like 90 miles south of Anchorage, which is where they lived. And it was like totally random that he was even found, because it was like a very isolated place, and they just happened to be someone going past and saw he was wearing a red jacket, and they thought it was like blood, but it was, I mean, he was dead, but they saw the jacket and called police. And so he apparently, they don't know exactly the time of death, but it was like within a day. Like they could tell by the decomposition. So the first thing Kent's parents did, obviously, when they heard the news, was to open that second letter. And it said that if he was dead, it was either John, Michelle, or Scott that had killed him. And in the letter, it says, do me a favor, make sure Michelle pays, and make sure she goes to get jail for a long time. So Scott Hilke, who was the traveling salesman, was actually cleared because he was in Lake Tahoe at the time Kent was murdered. And he was there because Michelle had asked him to meet her there. And so she was also there, although she had flown back the night before Kent was found. Scott had stayed. So the police cleared him. Scott later says that he actually believes that she had him meet her there, so she was out of state when things went down.
Right. And so that do you think, so he wouldn't get in trouble either, to give them both alibis?
We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. The police says he had nothing to do with it. Who knows that he didn't know about what was going on. They have no evidence that he knew anything about it. Just that apparently he and Michelle were still like in contact and saw each other occasionally, even though he moved and had broken off their engagement. So there was a note. Police found out that 4 weeks before his death, Michelle had taken out a $1 million life insurance policy on Kent.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
Of course. But were they married?
They weren't married, but apparently they were. It was like
still take out.
Yes.
Oh.
And Kent knew about the life insurance policy. It wasn't like a secret. He even told his family about it, and apparently his mom was like, this doesn't seem right. And he was like, I'm a grown man. I know what I'm doing. But apparently Michelle's grandfather had paid for the life insurance policy. It was like as a wedding present. Like that was what they said. And, but what police also found out was that on his body, he had a change of beneficiary form. So he had decided to give all the money to his family and had taken Michelle off of that
$1
million policy. So they also found a note in Kent's car, this is the guy who's died. I know there's a lot of names here. That was from John Carlin, who was the third guy, to Michelle, that they believed was like meant to lure Kent to this small town in Alaska. And it worked because police know that Kent at least went to Hope once, and because he was flashing around a picture of Michelle saying like, this is my fiance, has anybody seen her here? And he told his mom that Michelle often disappeared and that he was going to go look for her there. And they know that he went down there one time and he made it back to Anchorage, but then a few days later was when he was found back in Hope, but this time dead. So they have all this circumstantial evidence, right? They have the life insurance policy, they have the letter, they have this note, but they can't tie John Carlin or Michelle to the murder. Like they can't put them there. They don't have any other evidence. So like it just kind of goes cold.
Wow.
And both Michelle and John are free to leave Alaska. So Michelle moves to Washington. That's where she meets this doctor. She gets married. She gets her master's degree. She has a daughter. And that's where she is in 2006 when she gets a knock on the door from police. And they're like, we gotcha. We gotcha, bitch.
Can't believe I ever defended this woman.
Well, wait, there's more. So this is like 10 years later. So 10 years have gone by and she's now like fully established. But so both she and John Carlin were arrested, him for committing the crime and her for conspiracy to commit murder. And so the new evidence is it actually comes from John Carlin's son. I don't know if you remember, he has a teenage son who at the time, because he was underage, his father wouldn't allow him to be interviewed. Yes.
Oh.
So, but now he's an adult, and he tells police that his father, that after the murder, he watched his father bleaching a handgun while Michelle watched.
Oh my gosh.
And then they also recovered emails between Michelle and the three men, and they say it really kind of showed how manipulative she was. Like, she was telling one of them, you're the love of my life, the other guys don't mean anything, while she was telling each one the same thing. But they found an email from between Michelle and John saying did you know you could buy citizenship in the Seychelles, which I guess is an island. You know where that is?
No, I just know the shoe.
Did you know you could buy a citizenship in a shoe?
Shoes, they sell them at Nordstrom, Seychelles?
Yeah, Seychelles.
Yeah.
But so apparently it's an island where you can, and she says it's an island where you can't be extradited no matter what crimes you've committed. So the police are this is it.
Yeah.
So they go to trial. They both say they're innocent, and Michelle actually describes her relationship with Kent as more of a customer, and she's he was obsessed with me, and I had broken off the engagement, and he was basically stalking me, and she was yes, I was that a time in my life I was manipulative, I was dancing, I was getting gifts from these men, but I didn't have anything to do with the murder, and she actually said that the life insurance policy was his idea. And that it's actually true that they both took out life insurance policies on each other. So he had one on her and she had one on him. And she said that she tried to cancel the policies before his death after they had broken things off. So I don't know if there's any proof to that, but she says she knew she was no longer a beneficiary. She tried to cancel the policies. And then at trial, John Carlin, or actually at his sentencing, he suggested that the whole thing was a setup by Kent. He basically planned his own murder.
That's ridiculous.
Right, to frame the other three because Michelle had rejected him. He says that he did write the letter about hope, trying, but it wasn't to lure Kent. So basically the letter, it's kind of complicated, but it said it was from John and it's to Hope, and it said hey, I have this cabin for you in Hope and you can go down there whenever you want. And then there was a little handwritten note from her on it that was hey, thanks so much, we can't tell anybody else about it. And so and then they left it where Kent could see it. And so John says, I did write that letter, but it wasn't to lure Kent to Hope. It was to cover up for Michelle because she was going to Tahoe to see Scott. I wasn't trying to lure him anywhere. So he says he kind of wondered if Kent had had himself killed as a last act of revenge.
Gone girl.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
A guy, except he was actually dead. But so that but it was he was so basically he betrayed him. And he didn't say, he was I don't know this, but this is he thought this. Okay, so the jury didn't buy that argument.
Yeah.
And both of them were convicted in 2007 and sentenced to 99 years in prison.
Holy shit.
But, so fast forward to 2010, and Michelle has appealed her murder to the Court of Appeals. And they vote to overturn the conviction.
Oh my God, why? On what grounds?
On what grounds?
On what grounds?
Well, their main reason is that the letter that Kent wrote to his parents should never have been admitted at trial. And I 100% agree with that.
That's true.
Because
parents can write stuff.
Well, they didn't. He wrote it to them. Basically, it's it was a something beyond the grave. He was accusing them, but there was no way that they couldn't interrogate him and find out. He didn't actually know that they killed him.
What about the son watching him bleach a gun?
Well, that was still Well, that was still there, but that's the only. That doesn't show that they don't have the gun. They didn't have the gun. They couldn't tie the gun to the murder. So the court basically said this is not evidence, and this is totally prejudicial. This made the jury I mean, they believed this was true. They believed that, like, if he said that they were going to kill him and then he died, that was what happened, but that's not proof. And so they threw that out and they overturned the conviction. So the case went back to, and so the appeals court overturned Michelle's conviction, and then they also overturned John Carlin's conviction, but it was too late for him because he'd been killed in prison in 2008. And they don't know, I mean, they don't think it's connected, but they also don't know who killed him. I mean, it was in jail, so nobody was ever arrested for his murder. So he died. She had been in prison for 2.5 years. So the case went back to the district attorney, and then it's up to them to decide whether or not to try Michelle again. And they actually did seek to retry her, but then in 2011, the Superior Court dismissed the indictment. So, which means like they would have had to go to the grand jury again. And the 2012, the district attorney announced that they wouldn't indict her again. So she is like back with her family in Washington.
Oh my God.
Totally free.
The 8-year-old daughter is probably like an adult, full-on adult now.
Well, yeah, because so 2006, she was 8, so whatever, 13 plus 8. Yep, full-on adult.
And she probably knows her mom did it, right?
I mean,
like all signs point to
her family. I mean, her husband and her husband's family stood behind her. So I couldn't find anything about whether they're still married or what happened after, but I do know that once she got out of prison, she went back to her husband. So
that would make a really good movie. It's like did she like crimes of my mother,
right?
Like,
because it could,
if your mom is a killer or
yeah not. I mean, I kind of feel like
forth between,
right. I mean, I feel like it is up in the air. Like, there's no evidence saying that she was tied to it. There's no communication between her and John showing that, like,
there's the whole life insurance. All signs point to yes. I think she like took out a life insurance. Why on him and nobody else?
Well, but it was between the two of them. So she took it out. He took one out on her, and she took one out on him. And apparently, it was like part of their, like, before they got married.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know.
Maybe he really did, like, but I mean, I don't understand why the son would say that he saw his father cleaning a gun.
Right.
If they weren't somehow involved. Because I would say, oh yeah, maybe like this was like some elaborate setup that he, like suicide that he wanted to frame. But then how do you explain them cleaning the gun? And why would the kid go so far as to like turning in his father? Right.
And who actually then killed him? Because even if he set it up, I mean, that's just kind of a crazy theory, I think.
Yeah.
Because he was shot 3 times.
Go with she did it.
I mean, who knows? But anyway, that's a crazy story. And I got all of this from that 48 Hours Presents Love and Death in Alaska. And then also there were like a ton of stories about it in the Anchorage Daily News that were really interesting. So,
oh, wow.
So that's my story. That's Love and Death in Alaska.
There you go. Hey, Sally.
Yes, Jen?
Are you ready for a real love story?
Yeah.
A good one.
I feel like I need
feel good.
Yes, I need something to restore my faith in love.
Well, some people call this love story one of the greatest love stories of all time.
Who are these people? Do they know my story?
They say it. But this is a love story of Seretse, Khama, and Ruth Williams.
Okay.
Do you know it?
No.
Well, you will. So in June 1947, which didn't your love story last week start in 1947?
It was 1945 to 1946.
It's very romantic time.
The world was at war.
So in June of 1947, she was a secretary at an insurance company in London. Her name was Ruth Williams. Her and her sister went to a party in London. It was at a hostel associated with the Congregational Church that Muriel attended, her sister Muriel. So Muriel introduced her sister Ruth to this very handsome man named Seretse. So she just thought he was just like a nice, good-looking dude.
Yeah.
And she didn't know much about him, and she just said, I saw a tall, well-built, smiling African with wonderful teeth, broad shoulders, and perfect manners.
Okay.
I love good manners.
I love good manners.
I really do. I get it. I get those. Those are all nice traits. Wonderful teeth, broad shoulders, and perfect manners. But so she was instantly smitten, but no one told her that he was the heir to the throne of chief in the this is where I'm going to say it wrong. It's Bamangwado people of Bushanland, which is now referred to.
What was that?
Bushanaland.
Okay.
Bushanaland. And it's now what is now Botswana.
Okay, let's just call it Botswana.
Okay, so let's call it Botswana from here on out for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
So so she was a secretary at an insurance company. He was an African prince.
All right.
It was very sweet. They like hung out for a while as friends. And then one night, to show his perfect manners, he called Ruth at her office and said, I have two. They were both really into jazz.
Okay.
Which is sweet.
That's
and
how I pictured them in the 40s at a jazz club. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he said, I have 2 tickets for the Ink Spots, which was a popular jazz group. And he said, I'll get 3 if you'd like your sister to come along with us, because he was being a perfect gentleman. And then Ruth immediately was like, I want to come, but not with my sister.
She was like, that cock block? No way.
Nuh-uh. Yeah, totally.
I mean, the name like Muriel, you're like, yeah, no.
So they, with over a year, just fell madly in love with each other. And he was like, oh, Ruth, will you ever love me? And she was like, oh, absolutely. So cute. So cute. And but the problem was a lot of people were opposed to their marriage.
Right.
Because they were an interracial couple in the 1940s. And then, but the thing was, because he loved his country so much, and he was supposed to be, he's the prince, and so he proposed to her, but he said, like, I want to marry you, but I have to live in Africa. I cannot live in London. Like, will you come with me? I have to be with my people, because they were so important to him. And she was like, absolutely. Like, didn't even, so she went to Africa with him, and to Botswana. But before they went, he asked his uncle, Khama, who was the tribe's regent, like he was in charge, his uncle. Yeah. He was the he had to ask his uncle's permission, and to marry her, and he was like, absolutely not. In fact, he said, like, if you come home here, I will fight you to the death. Like, if you bring this white woman to my country, I will fight you. And I to the death. Yeah. And so then, and then also her family completely threw her out of their home. Like, they wanted nothing to do with her because she was marrying an African man. Yeah. And so they couldn't, they were going to get married in a church in London, but his uncle then contacted British government and was like, you cannot let this marriage happen. Because the thing was, they were they had ties, the British had ties to the white ruled South Africa, which was their neighbors, and they had just imposed a law that banning interracial marriage in South Africa. And so it was just like to keep the peace. So British Parliament was against it, and his people in Botswana were against it. South Africa was against it. His uncle was against it. So everyone was against it, but they just loved each other too much.
Like, we just want to listen to some jazz, man.
Yeah.
And he opens doors for me.
Jazz. So, they were, so they couldn't get married by a church. So they went to London to get married, but it was stopped, and they weren't able to get married. But they were able to have a civil marriage. So it wasn't sanctioned by the church, but they did legally get married. and his people were angry with him, but he couldn't leave her. And so there were protests in South Africa and in the British government. They exiled him. So they exiled him from his country, and he wasn't allowed, even though he loved his woman, he loved Ruth so much, he had to stay with her.
Right.
And he, the country that he loved so much, he couldn't go back to. But in 1956, after 6 years of campaigning to be able to return, they were allowed back in Botswana, but he had to renounce his throne. He was not allowed to be a leader.
Yeah.
But to show how much not only he loved his wife, and they ended up having 4 children together, not only show how much he loved his wife, he loved his country so much and his people so much in Botswana that he founded the Botswana Democratic Party in 1962, and then he became a prime minister in 1965, and in 1966 Botswana, he led them to independence, and they elected him as their first president. So and then under his presidency, he saved the country. Basically, they underwent rapid economic and social progress. He just brought them to a whole nother level. He was their first president, with his wife by his side, and she was beloved by all of their people, and they called her their mother.
People love.
And now to this day, their son Ian Khama is now the president of Botswana right now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so he went on to become the president. There's a movie out right now called A United Kingdom, and it's about their love story. I haven't seen it because I think it's only out in London and not here, but maybe it'll come out on the televisions and I could watch it. But
maybe it'll get on the Netflix.
It's a very lovely love story, and about how, their love for each other, and they just wouldn't stop, and they wouldn't be deterred by anything. And even his love for his people and her love for his people, which eventually became her people and her son's people. It's just
It's really beautiful.
It was really beautiful, and I really enjoyed this story very much.
I loved it too. I had never heard that. I'm excited. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so we want to end every podcast with saying something that we love this week. The first podcast we did a dumb thing and love, but we both realized we couldn't think of a dumb thing. We could probably think of a dumb thing. I just can't think of anything that would be interesting for other people to hear.
Yeah.
But maybe what we'll do is when you guys start sending us your stories, which we can't wait for, and you can send them to dumblovepod@gmail.com. That's where we'll read your dumb love stories at the end. Or in the beginning, I don't know. But anyway, so what we're going to do this week is just talk about something that we each love this week. So I can go first. So the thing I love this week is we went to, my dad has a beach house, which I know sounds very posh, but it...
La-di-da.
I know. I felt really, it felt wrong saying it. But my dad has he was a pilot, and he saved his money, and he and my stepmom have done really well, and they have built a house in Florida in Santa Rosa Beach, and it's just so beautiful down there. And we took Max there this weekend, and he got in the ocean for the first time and swam, and he's in a floaty, but he really loved it, and it just made me so happy because I love swimming so much, and this is the first summer that he has not been afraid of the water. So that was what I love this week, and it's just so beautiful. It makes me so happy to be down there. So we spent Father's Day with my dad and with Ben, my husband, and that was just really nice, and it was just a really great weekend.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess we should say we love fathers, and right?
Yeah.
For the most part, they're all pretty cool. For the most,
the cool ones are cool.
Yeah, I think we're grateful for our husbands that are dads.
Yes.
So that's cool. But yeah, I would say the thing that I love this week, besides Father's Day, happy Father's Day, dudes out there, is my friends that I love so much. They own Argosy in East Atlanta, where I'm gonna plug my own show.
Yeah.
I do a show called Day Night. It's in the back of Argosy at the Brigantine. It's a beautiful restaurant, but they just opened up. They've been working so hard to get this new brewery opened up where they make their own beers, but then the food is amazing, and they had a private friends and family opening the other night.
Very
I got
fancy.
to go to and drink everything and eat everything, and it was amazing. It's called Scepter, and it's in Oakhurst, and it's awesome. And that was a love and also a dumb at the end of the night, because I drank so many free delicious drinks that Rodney Leet, who is a fixture here in Atlanta, he's the showrunner here in Atlanta. He runs Star Bar. He's amazing. It was his 50th birthday, and I was supposed to celebrate with him that night at Star Bar for his big birthday party, and I drank so much at the dinner
That you couldn't make it?
No, I could not make it. I'm a lightweight these days. I can't drink like I used to.
I know, those are the days.
Like 2 and I'm done.
I always tell people, I'm like, I used to be so fun.
I used to be, yeah.
I used to be a real fun gal.
I forget that I'm not fun anymore.
Yeah, every once in a while.
I'm on my 3rd drink, and then I'm like, I have to go home right now.
I need to go to bed. I'm so tired.
I can't walk. So I loved it. Go to Scepter. It's amazing. And I'm so sorry, Rodney, for missing your birthday. I'm dumb.
So dumb.
So dumb.
Well, fine. Well, okay. Yeah. So I think we said all the things: rate, review, and subscribe to Dumb Love.
And we can't wait to hear your story. So thank you guys for listening, and please send in your awesome dumb love stories.
All right. Bye.
Love, Sally and Jen.
Love us.
Dum 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 dum.